Well, it's been a while since I've done one of these, but it is time to talk about some of the books that have entered into or gone onto my shelves in the past couple of months. Hi, my name is Sarah Freshly and welcome back to Freshly Read Books. Okay, I'm just gonna put these on the ground real quick. Also, I would like to show you my shirt because from here up it just looks like it says haunted, which is a weird thing, but it does say haunted by my TBR, which did feel very appropriate. Also, this was given to me by one of my best friends, and she actually has a Bookstagram account that she started a few months ago, and she's been posting about books that she's been reading. So consider checking her out. It's a newer Instagram, but I'll leave a link to her Instagram in the description. But yeah, she got us matching haunted by my TBR shirts, which I really like. Okay, so precursor, I don't usually do haul videos because I don't buy that many books. That's not to say that I don't buy books, but I usually try to only buy books that I think I'm going to want to keep, which is actually pretty, like, I'm pretty strict about the books that I keep, so it's not often that that happens. And then also I get books sent to me from publishers, and I find books in little libraries pretty often, and I also put my books into little libraries pretty often. So those are generally the way that I get my books. I only ever purchase books, or I almost only ever purchase books in person at a bookstore, typically an indie bookstore, sometimes Barnes & Noble. If I can't find it, I have the benefit of having quite a few bookstores around me, so I do have options. But then if all else fails and I absolutely have to have a book, then I go to bookshop.org, or if it's a pre-release, I will order it ahead of time from like the publisher's website. But I know that that's not an option for everybody. I like to say that because I don't know, there's something about making a video that is so much consumery that I don't love, but I do like sharing the books I'm excited about and like excited to read soon because it's fun. Like, that's just a fun thing to do. I'm also trying to be really intentional right now with my book buying because I want to get my TBR number down, like my owned TBR number down. And so I do have a rule for myself going forward that I'm going to be using. And I've already been like kind of play testing it with myself for a little bit to see like if I could actually commit to it. And I think that I can, which is that I'm only going to have a book and like come onto my TBR if I've already read 2 of my books that were on my TBR. However, because I've tried that before and that's not worked, if I get to the point where I like start stacking up books that are waiting to come on to my TBR because I bought them and like they need to be on the TBR, I'm not reading my books fast enough for them to get on there, then I can spin a wheel and read an entirely random book from my TBR, and then it's a 1-to-1. If I read that book, then I put one of those books on there. So I feel like it's a fun like way to gamify it, and it gives me an option if like things start going south with this idea. So 2 books of whatever I want to read from my TBR equals 1 book coming on to my TBR, or 1 randomized book equals 1 book coming onto my TBR. Hopefully that makes sense. But that is my new rule for myself going forward. I'm a little worried about the holidays, I'm not gonna lie to you. Also, my birthday's coming up, so like, not that I'm expecting other people to get me gifts, I just think that I'm gonna wanna go out and book shopping because that's like one of my favorite things. Let's go through the books that I have recently gotten. These are kind of some like randomly collected ones from over a long period of time, whenever my last book haul was. I'm unsure when I did my last one, but these were the ones I think would be most like fun to talk about or I'm most excited to read. And then I'll maybe flash like a couple of the other ones at the very end. So the first 2 that I have, I got on the same day at Trident Books in Boulder, which is a wonderful coffee shop / bookstore that I absolutely love. So first of all is of course R.F. Kuang's Catabasis. Who knows? I've heard her pronounce it different ways. I've heard her say that it doesn't matter. And now I don't know what to call it. The lighting is changing so much. Oh, cloud, big cloud. That's a little better, but not much. We're gonna go with it. It's just moody. It's just more fall. So this book is about a woman who is in college, and she is basically following her professor into the afterlife, and specifically into hell, like going through the stages of hell to find him and bring him back. The thing is, she ends up going with one of her classmates, and they have like quite the history, I guess is the right word to say, but you don't really know a lot about it for quite a ways into the book. That is to say, I am actively reading this one. I did put it on pause because I felt the inklings of a reading slump coming, and I needed to just be like mood reading like my life depended on it to make sure that I was still consistently keeping up with my reading habit and also having fun. So I ended up reading 2 romance books and finishing the second one today. And I think I'm actually ready to get back into this. So I'm very excited to be talking about it, because I actually, like, around a third of the way in, I started getting like so gripped by the way that the story is laid out. And I think I also just like really like these journeys and like structured journeys, because we have like these like stages or levels of hell. Different people talk about it in different ways, but like think Dante's Inferno, basically. We've got like greed, lust, or desire, I think they call it, with the other sins. But it is kind of cool to see them like slowly going through this, and the world building of like hell in general is really neat. And then I also got Invisible Cities by Italo Calvino. Apologies if that is not pronounced correctly, but this is just like a beautiful book. It's an illustrated 50th anniversary copy. I've never read anything by this author, but we've been talking about him a lot in my live streams. So, and the last time that happened was for Ursula K. Le Guin, and I read a book by her and loved it. So I'm just deciding that if like an author is talked about a lot in like several different streams, I just gotta pick up a book by them. There is another book I was recommended to read, but then I saw this one in the bookstore and I just had to. In a garden sit the aged Kublai Khan and the young Marco Polo, Mongol emperor and Venetian traveler. Khan has sensed the end of his empire is nearing. Marco Polo diverts his host with stories of the cities he has seen in his travels around the empire. Stories about memories and desire, art and creation, life and death. As Marco Polo unspools his tales, the emperor realizes these fantastic places are more familiar than they appear. So yeah, it sounds great. It looks beautiful. So I got it. Then we have Among Friends by Hal Ebbett. So this was sent to me by Riverhead Books. I haven't read it yet, even though it did technically come out already. This was a arc, but it does seem like now is the perfect time to read it because it is set during autumn, and it's just like a weekend's worth of time in New York, but not like New York City. And there's 2 families that are gathered together. It's somebody's birthday, but basically like a bunch of these things start coming out like while they're all there together. And then it says that it results in an unspeakable act. So I don't know, I don't know what that means, but I'm excited about it. Also, I just really, really like the cover. Next I have The Thorn Birds, which actually I do think that I ordered from bookshop.org because I couldn't find this anywhere. And the funny thing is I just found it in a used bookstore and I'm kicking myself. And it's the same edition as this one. This I know very little about, but my friend, actually the one that got me this shirt, she said that it is one of her favorite books and she's really wanted me to read it. And so I'm going to at some point. But it is a family saga and it is set in Australia, I believe. Then we've got this book, Strange Houses by Uketsu and translated by Jim Ryan. So this is a Japanese mystery, which I've only read one Japanese mystery, as in like a mystery that was translated from Japanese into English, and that was The Decagon House, and I really liked that. I had a lot of fun with it. So when I saw this cover, which is like iconic already, I really was drawn to it. I didn't pick it up that day, but then when we had friends visiting and we went back to that same bookstore, which is Tattered Cover, technically no longer an indie bookstore in Denver. It was for a long time, but it has been bought by Barnes & Noble, but I'm okay with that. It's a staple and I want it to stay. So if that's what it takes, and like I'd rather them do that than like close down another one of their locations, because they already had to do that quite a bit during COVID. But then my friend and I were there and she immediately was drawn to the cover as well, because we have very similar tastes, especially in mystery books. And so we decided to both pick up a copy and we're going to read it at some point together. But I guess like within the blueprints of this house, there's like this dead space that's between the walls and stuff. And so there's like something weird going on with the design of it. And the guy that owns it is like getting help from an architect or something to figure out what's going on. That's roughly what I remember of this one. This one was sent to me by Knopf Publishing, which is What We Can Know by Ian McEwan. This is the same author of Atonement, which is huge and I still haven't read. Actually, this would be my first Ian McEwan that I'll have read, but it just sounds so good, so I could not request it. Part of the book takes place in 2014. At a dinner with close friends and colleagues, renowned poet Francis Blendy honors his wife's birthday by reading aloud a new poem dedicated to her, A Corona for Vivian. Little does anyone gathered around the candlelit table know that for generations to come, people will speculate about the message of this poem, the only copy of which goes missing, leading to an enduring mystery. And then it also takes place in 2119. It sounds so weird to say that, but just over 100 years in the future, much of the Western world has been submerged by rising seas following a catastrophic nuclear accident. Those who survive are haunted by the richness of the world that has been lost. And we have like a scholar that's basically trying to find this poem and like discover like the meaning behind it and all this stuff. So sounds like it's gonna be a good one. Then we have Moonflow by Bitter Corella. This author I had never heard of, the book I'd never heard of. Curtis and I were in the like used bookstore in our town looking around, and I saw the spine and it immediately grabbed me. And then looking further into it, it just sounded so good. And it's funny because I brought this up in one of the live streams that I was doing. I oftentimes will show them if I got like a new book. It's usually like out and around, and so I'll show it off. But one of the people there had read from this author before and said that they were really good. So, and then listen to this. This is so up my alley. They call it the King's Breakfast. One bite and you can understand the full scope of the universe. One bite and you can commune with forgotten gods beyond human comprehension. Sarah is a trans woman who makes her living growing mushrooms. When a bad harvest leaves her in a desperate fix, the lore of the King's Breakfast has her journeying into the vast uncharted woods where it grows. But as she descends deeper, she realizes she's not alone. Something in the forest is waking up. It's hungry and it wants her. So it's like a horror, but also it's fungal, which are like my favorite kinds of horror. And not to mention, the main character's name is Sarah, so I'm obviously biased, and she does spell it with an H. So, and then the last one I want to talk in detail about is Death of the Author by Nnedi Okorafor. This one is so beautiful. I was visiting my parents in North Carolina, and we went to a bookstore that is so cute there. And I noticed they had 2 different areas where the staff recommends different books, which I always love checking out in a bookstore. But something I found really interesting was that this book was recommended 2 times by 2 different staff members. It was their pick for a book to recommend. So that really caught my attention. I started looking into it more, decided to buy it, and ended up talking to the cashier there for quite a while about this one. And she was pointing out how cool the art on it and everything is. I'll get to that after I get to the synopsis of it. So in this one, we have Zelu, who writes a book called Rested Robots. And so this is very much like a book within a book. And it's supposed to be very meta between the 2. And I believe like the book ends up doing really well. She wound up just like writing it, just kind of desperately wanting to do something for herself. And so she writes a book that's just supposed to be for her, but then it ends up like really taking off. But the cool thing about this is not only does it have sprayed edges, but on the cover, the background of it, which we've got Zelu on the cover, assuming, and in the background we have like binary code, computer chips, things like that. And then under the dust jacket, we have the name of her book, Rested Robots. And then in the background of this one, it's like all nature. So there's like dolphins, plants, and things like that. And then on the inside covers, it's like a blend of the 2. Where we've got like robotic type things meant to look more natural. I just really like when you can tell that like a lot of thought is put into the packaging of a book. So those are all of like the main ones that I wanted to talk about like more in depth. But as far as some other like notable things that I've gotten, I recently got 2 Percival Everetts from Vintage, which is very exciting because he is quickly becoming one of my favorite authors of all time. I've only read 2 books by him, but I think they were both 5 stars, if not very close to 5 stars. I'm gonna have to look up what my rating of Trees was, but I think it was 5 stars. But I do already own Erasure, but I am very excited to own 2 more books by Percival Everett, and also I really like the covers. Then I also got 2 Mistborn books out of the little library. So these, I still haven't read any Brandon Sanderson, but my plan is to read Mistborn, decide if I like it or if I want to put the books back. But I do now have both the first book of Mistborn as well as the first book of the Stormlight Archives. And now I don't know where to start. So if you have any suggestions, please do let me know. I will say one of them's a lot less intimidating than the other, just book 1 wise, but you know. And I do think that I have others of these that I also found in little libraries. I know that eventually I'd want to read Brandon Sanderson, so I've been collecting them. And I say this every time I talk about how many books I get out of little libraries, but I swear I put like twice as many into them. I put so many books into those little libraries. And then also notably, I got Sharp Object by Gillian Flynn. So this is the only of hers that I haven't read yet. So that's kind of perfect. I mean, I think she's only got 3. I've read Dark Places and Gone Girl, of course. Also, The Housemaid. I definitely need to read this one actually pretty soon because I think my friend wants to borrow it when she visits. And then Great Finds, also from the little library, was 2 Ali Hazelwood books because I've read the novella collection that she had and Deep End, and I really enjoyed both of those. So I'm excited to read others of hers and the ones that like I heard about, you know, before the one. I feel like I read like a very weird random 2 first. Also, I got 2 Tessa Baileys. I'm not as sure about this one, but I'll read one of them, see how I feel, and then maybe continue. And then this one was super random, but also from a little library. It's Beach Vibes by Susan Mallory. But it does have some nice sprayed edges, so that's fun. I do like sprayed edges. I'm not immune to them. They do appeal to me greatly. Except the yellow that's on Remarkably Bright Creatures. I don't like that one. That's such a random opinion to have and to talk about in this video, but I had to say it because I really love that book and I really don't like that edition of it. But anyways, that is most of the things that I have gotten in like the past few months since whenever the last time I did a book haul was, which I don't think it's been a full year this time. Usually it only happens like once a year. So that's kind of cool, but quite a good amount of books and ones that I am really excited about. I am proud of myself with how few I've purchased. Like I've actually gone out and purchased. I feel like I'm doing a better job of being like, can you get that from the library instead? Which is a great idea because it really does help my TBR. And hopefully also my new rule for myself will help my TBR. And when I do collect a few and I feel like I need to start randomizing books in order to put new books onto my TBR, I think that that'll be a really fun video to do of just like completely random which book for my TBR do I read. It kind of terrifies me, but it's also very exciting. Anyways, I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please let me know what book you last got, whether it be from the library, purchased, a gift, whatever. And other than that, I believe my next video is going to be my next Herkyed episode, so get ready. In fact, it was supposed to be this week, but I realized I was not gonna finish editing in time. It is kind of a beast, this one. I read a lot last month, so I needed a little bit extra time for editing, which is why this video is now here. But it was good to talk about these and renew my own excitement for them. So I hope to see you in that next one. Other places you can find me is Instagram, TikTok, Storygraph, Patreon, all freshly read books, but this is my main platform. So really, I just hope to see you back here for the next video. Bye.